Hey everyone, Cameron here, and today I am making a video that is quite a bit different than the content I have been posting to this channel. I've been really fortunate and lucky to have developed this relationship with Chestnut where they've sent me boards and I've been posting video reviews of their products, but as much as I like making product review videos, I really enjoy actually playing chess. I play quite a bit online and I've been trying to play more over the board, and I thought it would be a really fun exercise to analyze tournament games on video. I've seen quite a bit of creators do it, especially people like John Bartholomew. It's really helpful for me to see their thought process, and obviously I am nowhere near the strength of a player like John Bartholomew, but I wanted to make this video. Maybe it's helpful to somebody who's lower rated like me, considering playing in their first over the board tournament. And I wanted this video to be more about my experience and thought process while I sat down at the board. And obviously, it's not going to have as much educational content as you're going to get from an international master or grandmaster content creator, but really just wanted to talk through what I experienced, and maybe it'll help me as I continue to refine and clarify my thoughts as I play over the board. So I played in a tournament this past weekend. It was a 5-round Swiss. Game in 30 plus 60, so each opponent starts, I have that wrong. Game in 60 plus 30. Each opponent starts with an hour on their clock, and you get 30-second increment from move 1. I entered the tournament with a provisional USCF rating of 747. Just to add a little additional context to my strength as a chess player, I'm about a mid 1400s player on chess.com. I'm right now at a peak rating of, I believe, 1469 rapid, playing mostly 1510 time control. So that's just, you can kind of judge my strength based on that. And I entered the lowest section of this tournament, which was under 1400. There was also an under 1900 and an open section. So I entered the under 1400 section looking to, number one, have a good time, hopefully improve my rating, and definitely learn a little bit more about my game. So I knew coming in I was going to be kind of on the lower rated portion of my section. I was ranked 15th out of the 22 people in my section, and that had me paired up against the 4th highest ranked player in my first game. His name is Lewei Chen. He, I believe, is from Tennessee, and he was rated 1,063 going into this game. Didn't know anything about him. I did know his rating from the pairing sheet, and little did I know that when he sat down in front of me, he was going to be a 7-year-old kid. And if you're not familiar with what that's like, sitting across the table from somebody much smaller and much younger than you, it is very humbling. Not to take anything away from him or young players. There are obviously a ton of incredibly great players. Lewei is no exception, and I try not to let the psychological aspect of a younger player who has the obviously physical difference in size from me affect the way that I played. So I knew he was much stronger than me going into this game. I knew he must be serious about chess if he's, his family is taking him to these games. And I entered the game with a lot of caution and just trying to tell myself, my main mantra is, play good chess, try not to blunder early, have a good time. So I'll jump into the game. I had the white pieces. I open with e4. That's my normal opening move. And he responds e6. It's kind of crazy to say, but as an e4 player, I don't know much, if at all any, French defense theory. Kind of crazy, but I don't encounter it a ton online, and I've never really spent a lot of time learning about the theory. You'll see how that turned out for me in this game. But he plays e6. I play the most principled move, which is d4, taking up more space in the middle here. And he responds, as expected, d5. So we got the French. There's a couple of ways to go from here. And if you're ever in unfamiliar territory, I think this piece of advice is applicable to anybody at any strength level. Just play good chess principles. And I wish I would have taken my own advice during the game and played knight c3, defending my pawn, developing a piece. That is the normal variation of the French, but instead what I actually played in the game was e5, going into the advanced French. When I was sitting at the board, kind of my thought process in playing this move. I play the Caro-Kann as black, and I find a lot of complications happen from the black side when my opponents go into the advanced Caro. So I thought I could employ some of those same complications as white in this game, most notably blocking in this light square bishop, taking away this development square from the knight, and I felt like, that would be a good course of action. But the downside to doing something like this is I think it's a lot more theory heavy. You get into more nuanced concepts of chess, which I, as a not very strong player, am still learning. And again, you will see how this panned out for me. My opponent responded with c5, again, which is very akin to the advanced Caro. Anytime somebody plays e5 on move 3 in the Caro-Kann, I respond with c5. So this is not new to me. And when I was considering what my next move could be, I obviously wanted to defend this pawn. And the way I did that was by playing knight f3. And I learned after the game that the most principled move actually in this position is to play c3, defending with the pawn. The reason I didn't play that at the board is I was just not wanting to make too many pawn moves. When I think about kind of good chess principles, it's develop your pieces in the opening, control more space in the center, and get your king to safety. So that was the rationale, be playing knight f3. And he responds with knight c6, again, adding more pressure to this weak pawn on d4. And again, I had another opportunity to play c3, and you can probably tell by my tone of voice, I did not play that. Again, I was too afraid of playing too many pawn moves in the opening, and I actually responded with bishop e3. Again, adding another defender to the d4 pawn and developing a piece. I've included the evaluation bar in this video. I'm not going to analyze this in the context of what the eval bar says. I'm just including it there for you to see as I move through this analysis. I felt like this was an okay move. I've got two pieces developed. I've got these two pawns taking up some space in the center, and in general, I was still feeling pretty okay about this position, but knowing that Lewei probably had much more experience in the French than I had. So I was still proceeding quite cautiously, and his next move, queen b6, was it uncovered why this move, bishop b3, was not a good move, and it attacks this undefended pawn here on b2. There's really only two ways to defend this pawn, and that is by pushing it or playing queen c1, which is an objectively terrible move, and I did not play that. I played b3 in the game. And again, here I'm still feeling okay about my position. I know it's not ideal. I don't know where I'm going to put the knight. I need to get that out. I need to get my light square bishop out, going to e2 next and castling. So I still felt okay with what was going on here. I, in general, as a player, kind of like to see when my opponent brings their queen out early. I think it adds a target and can complicate the position when you're playing. And so I didn't feel too terribly uncomfortable here. My opponent takes on d4, and this is where it started to go south for me. And it's just such a good example of how easy it is to blunder in an over-the-board game. You've got all these emotions running through your head. I'm nervous. It's my second tournament ever. I'm playing a 7-year-old. That shouldn't affect me, but it certainly does, just to be fair. And so, your thought process is not all there, or at least for me, not in game one. So I'm in this position, I'm thinking, okay, if I take with my bishop, he can recapture, I can take with the knight, and material is even, but now I've lost the bishop pair. My next thought process is, okay, I take with the knight, he takes back, I take with the bishop, I've got a centralized bishop, I've got the bishop pair, I'm 2 moves away from castling, and, black, if they want to castle long, they got to put their light square bishop on a terrible square, or they are, at least 4 moves away from castling on the king side. So what did I do? I took with the knight. That sounded great to me. And immediately my opponent responds, and you probably already know, he takes on e5. And it's moments like this in the game where, your adrenaline immediately spikes. My heart rate is going, like I know I'm down a pawn. And not only am I down a pawn, like I have enough positional understanding of chess to know that these two pawns in the center against my none is going to pose a massive problem for me. He's got this knight here. Now he can develop his knight to f6, and it feels really bad. Even though I'm only a pawn down, I am starting to feel very stressed out, but you know, I'm a pawn down, you can't take it back. So the thing that goes through your head then is, all right, well, let's just keep playing the best chess move I can in the position. It's still early. You know, we're both relatively lower rated players. There's always an opportunity for somebody to make a mistake later in the game. And so obviously I continued on. I played bishop e2, developing my light square bishop. I just didn't want to put it here. I think he would immediately take. Well, there's a number of different things that can happen, but he could take. Then I have an isolated queen's pawn. I just didn't want to open that up here. I can't go here and I can't go here. So I got my bishop out, wanting to castle on the next move. My opponent responds by adding pressure to this knight. It's already defended twice by my bishop and my queen. So I didn't feel compelled to add another defender to the knight at this point in the game. I thought, okay, you know, he's developed. That makes sense. I've still got two defenders, and he doesn't have an easy way to add another attacker. He's still 2 moves away from that. So my next move was to castle. He responds with knight f6. Again, I'd mentioned why, you know, giving up that crucial e5 pawn was really bad for me. Now he can castle kingside very easily. I've lost any compensation I had for being a pawn down, which could have possibly been slightly better development, and now I can tell that any sort of compensation is slipping away from me. I started getting worried about this pin of my knight to my bishop. My bishop is only defended once, and it's attacked twice. I was afraid of going down another pawn. So at this point, finally, I played c3. Only 7 moves too late, but I added another defender to my knight, and my opponent responds by rearranging. And, you know, I looked at a number of different lines here. I looked at taking, which I didn't like because after takes, I could take back, he could take back, and then I've got this isolated pawn. I didn't like that resulting position. One move I didn't consider during the game, I wish I would have, but I think a good move would have been b4, attacking the bishop. I didn't play that either. But what I did do, because I wanted to avoid this trade on e3, losing a pawn because it was only defended one time, I played bishop b5, pinning the knight, and knowing that he couldn't take because my knight is defended. Even if he plays e5, I can take with check, and then I can get my knight to safety, which is exactly what happened in the game. He did apply pressure to the knight. I took so as not to drop the knight, and then my bishop, which was only defended by the knight, he took back with the pawn. And here, I also saw this earlier, I could play to bishop c2 because I wanted to add another defender to my e3 bishop. So I developed here, and in the analysis afterwards, I didn't see this during the game, but this would have been an appropriate time to play b4, because now he has to make a decision. He can take, and I've got, oh, no, that's not the right move. He can take, and I can take back with the pawn. And now there's this tension here where, you know, he can take, I can take back with tempo on the queen. I didn't see that in the game. I did, you know, learn that in the analysis afterwards, that b4 would have been a good counter-attacking move to this e5 attack. But I did not play that move. I retreated my knight, and my opponent responds by taking, and the reason that I retreated my knight was so that I could take back with the knight and not compromise the safety of my king or create an isolated pawn on the e-file. My opponent responds with e4. This was a curious move to me. It just felt slow in the game. Number one, he only has his light square bishop left, so to put another pawn on the light square didn't make a ton of sense to me. That seemed like it could have been a very nice square for his knight as well. He could defend it by playing f5. I was just kind of curious by this move. Wasn't sure what he was getting at, but eventually it becomes clear why he did play it, and it creates these really strong squares in my camp on f and d3. So he played e5. At this point in the game, I'm looking at my position. I can see I've still got to develop my knight. He's got the space advantage, he's got the material advantage, and I really want to get this knight out, but I'm also really afraid of this knight jumping in, because if I was afraid of that knight jump, but I realized later in the analysis that I actually had that square covered twice with my queen and my knight. So in the game I played h3, which is an incredibly slow move, and defending a square that I already had defended twice. And he just gets his king to safety. So that being said, I moved my knight back. And my idea here was I really wanted to prevent the... I'm just trying to think of what was going through my mind here. I rearranged... Oh, yeah, because I was trying to get my knight into d4. So I thought that looked like a nice square to rearrange my knight. It wasn't doing a whole lot here. It didn't have really anywhere good for it to go. These squares are covered by the bishop, and the square is covered by the pawn. So I wanted to rearrange, hoping to get in a d4. My opponent responds by rearranging his knight, and now we've got knight c5 or knight e5 incoming immediately. I know that's coming next, and the weaknesses in my position beyond being material down is needing to bring this knight out. So that is what I did next, with the hope that eventually I could get this knight into c5 through b3. So in my head, I was thinking I can play b4, get my knight in here, and jump it into here. It would be very hard for black to remove that knight if I was able to get it posted in c5. So that was kind of my long-term plan in playing this move. One of the expected moves came. That's knight e5, and here I am immediately worried about him placing the knight on one of these two squares. Obviously, this square is defended by the pawn, but getting his knight into d3 just felt awful. I could feel the position slipping away from me. I was looking for counterplay. I really didn't have a lot at this point. And, my only thought in this position was I really need to have a response for knight f3 or knight d3. So I played knight e1, protecting these two squares. And again, my thoughts at this point are very clouded by I am getting cooked. This is not going very well for me. I played this move. I think, okay, maybe I can survive. I'm preventing this move for a couple more moves. I can get my b4 move in and rearrange my knight. But the move that I missed is bishop a6. So immediately putting pressure, bad at drawing arrows, on my rook. I have no way to defend it, even if I push c4, which is the only good move. I realized after calculation during the game, it doesn't save the exchange, but it does create some complications. So at this stage in the game, I feel pretty much dead lost. The evaluation bar, I said I wasn't going to analyze this in the context of the analysis bar, but it somewhat agrees with me. But it's just not looking good. It's not feeling good. I do know that the only move in this position is c4, which I played. He takes back, and I took back with my b pawn, which is the wrong move. I actually should have... no, I think that's actually okay. I messed up on the next move. So I took back, then he takes back, offering a trade of knights. I'm down a material. I know that's a bad move. And when you're down and looking for a chance to get back in the game, the only thing I could think to do is try and create some complications, try and get the opponent to make a mistake. He's been playing super solidly. I haven't. I'm in a terrible position. I'm got almost every single one of my pieces is on the back rank, and there's not a lot for me to do. So I try and complicate it by playing rook b1, attacking the queen. He moves his queen to a5, getting it out of the way, attacking my pawn. No big deal. I, at this moment, took the pawn. Oops, sorry, I hit play. Took the pawn. Again, trying to look for some counterplay, starting to eye up, maybe I can go for a mate on h7, looking for something, anything to come back here, even though I know I am destined to lose this exchange. And my opponent responds by centralizing his knight and opening up that line towards my rook with his bishop. Knowing that there is still no way for me to prevent this, I can't block with the knight because the square would be attacked twice. I accepted my fate and I played queen c2, defending my pawn, defending my knight, and accepting what's to come next. And he does respond by taking the rook, and I take back the only way that I can. And again, I'm down an exchange and a pawn. My position is terrible. He's got this one isolated pawn that I can see as a target, but it's defended, which is defended by the queen. I'm trying to look for anything to make this game more complicated than it is. He's just bringing his rooks to open files next and finishing this thing off, which he did. I played knight g5. Again, trying to look at this, maybe, if he makes a mistake, trying to go for this mating sequence, keeping the tension with the rook, hoping maybe he'll take instead. Lewei was not going to fall for anything like that. He calmly moves his knight back, blocking this checkmate. And now I'm stuck with a decision to make because, again, I have no counterplay whatsoever. I probably should have just moved my rook. I exchanged with him, and I only played a few more moves before this game ended. So from here, I took on f7. Again, just trying to create complications. He can take with the knight, take with the king, and maybe through some checks, I can try and pick up this undefended rook. This is all very last ditch, kind of seeing the game crumbling away from me. And I think at this point I've got my score sheet here. Let's see, I moved 27 into the game. Yeah, at this point he had about a 10-15 minute time advantage on me. I was down to around, I think, 35-ish minutes. He was still around 50 minutes in the game and had little to no confidence that I was going to come back. But again, trying to create some complications, trying to stay in this game for as long as I felt reasonable. He took back with the king. I delivered the check. He blocked the check. I tried to go after this pawn, and he plays a great move, which is delivering check and forcing a trade of queens. I knew from there it was pretty much over. I could have resigned here. I could have resigned several moves ago, but I traded queens with him. He took back with the rook. I played knight d3, trying to get centralized. Again, not ready yet to give up on the game. He centralizes his knight, offering a trade. And again, I know I shouldn't trade. I'm down a lot of material. I moved back. It was just kind of looking sad for me. And he plays rook b2, a3. And the game ended when I resigned after he played c5. I just had no realistic way to stop this pawn from promoting with my one knight and his rook. So it was kind of a disappointing start for me in the start of this tournament. I was a little bit down on myself starting the tournament. It's a Saturday morning. I know I had 3 games that day, and it's a really tough way to go out. My opponent played a great game. He was super solid in the French defense. I did not play solidly, move 7, making an inaccuracy and dropping a pawn, but just future inaccuracies in the game led to eventually an insurmountable advantage for black. If I, thinking about where could have I have salvaged this game, even after dropping the pawn, thinking back to probably around, I would think here, I still felt okay. I think this move, playing h3 here, was probably where it really started going downhill. I don't like what would have been better than h3 here. Knight d2, probably developing the knight, but again, he's still coming with this move, and I can play this. Yeah, I guess at that point I still could have prevented the losing the exchange. I just, unfortunately, because I was already down to material and letting my thoughts get to me, I just played an unsound move on it with h3. It's just too slow, and it actually didn't accomplish anything because, like I mentioned earlier, this square was defended twice. So, my main takeaways from this game were brush up a little bit on French defense theory, really take it to heart when, you're in unfamiliar territory, play good chess, develop your pieces, defend tenaciously, and don't go into really theoretical lines, something like an advanced French where, I did not set myself up well for success in this game. I was disappointed, but I left the game trying to be hopeful. I analyzed it a little bit with him. He talked with me about, my third move should have been, or I guess I should say my fourth move should have been c3 instead of knight c3 or knight f3. But I didn't know the theory well enough to know that this was the move. So, it was a tough first game to the tournament, but I knew I had 4 more. I knew that, this was going to be one of my more difficult opponents, and I looked forward to the next game, which was coming in just a couple of hours. So I've still got to get around to analyzing that game. After I do, I will try and post my analysis of it. Let me know what you thought of this, if it was helpful for you in any way. If you've got thoughts on the French, if you've got any suggestions, I'm all ears. I'm going to have to work on some of that theory and just practicing what is maybe a more kind of sound way to defend against e6, d5, not the way that I did it in this game. So thank you if you stuck around to watch this. It's something I've really been wanting to make. I've never done anything like this before. So I really wanted to take the time to talk through my thoughts from the tournament, and let me know what you think. Thank you.